If you had to choose one Titan build right now in Destiny 2 in its current state to never get buffed or nerfed, what would it be? Let me know below. For me, it has to be this Strand melee build. It is by far one of the best builds in the game to use for both team play and solo play because it allows you to have a damage buff while also getting passive health back at the same time. And I know what you're gonna say, Divide, Synthoceps got nerfed. The build is pointless now. Wrong, the build is actually better this season because by manipulating the artifact this season, we can get Radiant on our Strand subclass while also having the buffs from our actual build at the same time. So Radiant will affect our solar weapons, giving them a 25% damage buff. This could be used on things like the Lament Sword or any solar sword when combining it with our Banner of War. Because Banner of War will give our swords an extra 10% damage buff and passively give us health back at the same time, which Radiant plus Banner of War are both stackable buffs. With the health back from Banner of War and the Lament Sword, you can literally become unstoppable. You could even pair the build with Solar Glaives, or just use your melee and a 1-2 punch shotgun, which is what I do most of the time to just melt down bosses quickly. Honestly, this build is lethal. I mean, what else are you really going to use on a Titan anyway? A Void ability build? A stasis build, a nerfed solar hammer build. A lot of Titan builds feel stupidly nerfed right now, and the only build I'm enjoying most is this Strand build, despite it also being hit slightly. Now guys, I gotta tell you a little secret not many people know. There's another game I play where you can take build crafting to the next level. With over 800 champions in the game to customize with skills and abilities to upgrade and develop, you'll be able to venture out into the wild to take on some powerful enemies and become a true legend. Sound like fun? Why not join in? It's free to play. And if that's not enough to get you into the game, well, I have better news. The worlds of Raid Shadow Legends and Monster Hunter are colliding for an amazing crossover, which you can take part in right now up until the 5th of March, so that you can collect 5 Monster Hunter themed legendary champions within Raid, which are all based on the iconic Monster Hunter monsters, 4 of which you can get through in-game events, and 1, the Rathalos Blademaster, which you can get for free by just logging into Raid for 7 days between now and the 5th of March. And if this awesome crossover isn't enough for you, well, Raid has a Cursed City update as well, which will give you access to some of Raid's most difficult content since the release of the Doom Tower. You'll have 100 stages to complete, where you'll need to take down 2 of Raid's bosses at the same time, while doing various quests to get some awesome rewards and a mythical champion. So this is the best time to get started in Raid, and by clicking my link in the description or scanning my QR code here on screen, you'll get unique bonuses which includes 32,000 silver, 4 XP brews, and 1 tasty chicken. You can't say no to that surely. But it doesn't end there. Once you've downloaded the game today, use the promo code RAIDXmas, and then come find me under the name Divide21 in my Divided World clan here, and let's raid. Okay, now if you like this build, then you might like some of my other builds, which you can find in the playlist down below, as I do cover new and updated builds every season here on the channel, and you guys might just find your new best build in there. But with this build today, we're taking our Strand Titan build we had last season and updating it for this season, using some of the new artifact perks, while also taking into consideration the nerfs and changes that happened. The one main change we have is that Synthoceps now only grants a plus 165% damage buff, instead of a 200% previously, which does mean we will deal less damage, but we can up that damage slightly with Radiant by using one of the new artifact perks this season, which weirdly enough allows us to get Radiant from rapid solar weapon kills or precision hits, and I'll get to that in a second. But the next change is Banner of War, where you now need more kills to get these stacks up higher, but they've allowed us more time to achieve that. And to be honest, that doesn't really matter anyway, since these days in Destiny we have tons of ads around and activities that we would use this build in. So the only main difference from last season to this season is that we're going to be doing less damage to bosses, and that's really all it's going to affect. We're still going to melt through champions and other mini bosses most of the time, as long as you have those buffs. As for Radiant, we're going to use the Flint Striker artifact perk, where rapid solar weapon precision hits and rapid solar weapon final blows grant Radiant. This can be by either the Lament Sword, which to be honest is a great heavy weapon to use with this build, because you will be able to get health back by just damaging enemies, which combined with our Banner of War just makes this a whole lot better. Other choices though, if you're instead going the melee route but still want Radiant, you can use things like a Callus mini tool or even a Sunshot or Polaris Lance, all of which are going to stun barriers anyway because of that Radiant effect. But what we're really achieving with this build is just constant health regen and damage buffs by using Synthoceps, as well as your Strand melee ability and Banner of War. Everything else on top is going to be mostly focusing on making the effects better, lasting longer, or being able to get those buffs and abilities back faster when we don't have them. But essentially the way this build works is you'd start by getting a Strand melee or sword kill. This will give you a Tangle, Woven Mail and Banner of War. From here you just use your Tangles, get weapon kills and stack up that Banner of War to ×4. Getting rapid solo kills or precision hits will then give you Radiant, which will be effective against barrier champions. And as you're just going about your day getting kills, you'll keep refreshing Banner of War, as well as Woven Mail and in some cases the Radiant buff, as long as you're consistently killing ads. Eventually you'll have a ×4 Banner of War buff. When you do, you'll pull out a 1-2 punch shotgun, shoot the boss and then melee while surrounded by ads. In most cases this will get a mini boss or a raid level champion to really low health if not killing them instantly. But considering you have 3 melees and then a grapple melee on top, which at that point your first melee charge will be back again, you'll be able to output over 1 million damage in around 5 to 10 seconds as long as all buffs are active, that being the Synthoceps, the 1-2 punch shotgun and the ×4 Banner of War. Now just one thing to be careful about here that I noticed is that the explosive weapons such as Sunshot, you might not always get Radiant, or at least it doesn't always seem to be consistent. So sometimes you may be better off not running an explosive solar weapon to make more use of Radiant with solar weapons that can get the final blow instead of the explosive rounds, so just a heads up there. Now the one thing carrying this build is the Banner of War Strand aspect, so make sure you have this on because what this does is raises a Banner of War that pulses with energy, healing you and nearby allies and increasing melee and sword damage. The main focus will be our melee, so it is ideal to use a shotgun with 1-2 punch to further increase its damage. You can use craftable ones like the Wastelander M5 or the one from Crota's End as well, all are good choices. With our exotic armor, Synthoceps, this will give us increased melee and super damage when surrounded, which is a 165% damage buff, so you can use your super too if you want. I'd mostly use it when you don't have any melee charges ready to use because honestly the melee with 1-2 punch is way better in my opinion. The other aspect you want is Into the Fray, so that destroying a Tangle or casting your super grants Woven Mail for damage resistance, and while we have Woven Mail, our melee regens faster too. Then for fragments we have Thread of Generation for grenade energy, since we are using the grapple one, which also allows us to do a grapple melee attack. Thread of Fury for melee energy, Thread of Warding so picking up orbs grants Woven Mail, and then Thread of Transmutation so weapon final blows creates a Tangle. And then we just loop between the Tangles and Woven Mail constantly, and that's how we maintain those buffs. As for mods, you want a Cypher mod that's related to the weapon that you're using to spawn orbs on rapid kills, 2 impact inductions and a heavy handed in the arms, damage resist mods in the chest, cooldown mods in the legs, and then more cooldown mods in the class armor. You want to prioritize your melee and grenade abilities so that you can get them back quicker, which also means you would want 100 discipline and strength, but for me I prefer the resilience first, so it's up to you, but those 3 stats are what you want to try and max out to 100 if you can. In the artifact, this is the full setup, but we are taking advantage of a few perks, so obviously we have the one that gives us Radiant, we have the Kindling trigger to scorch enemies while Radiant, Raise of Precision to cause combatants to ignite on precision kills while Radiant, and Solo Operative if you're playing solo. This is honestly a really good build to use in Destiny 2 right now, and it's probably going to be a while before they end up nerfing this build to the ground like they did with the Warlock Starfire build, so before that happens, do yourself a favour and set this build up and use it, because it is so much fun and it's only going to last so long before its usefulness is completely wiped out. I've been Divide, thank you all for tuning in, and until next time, have a good one.